Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is your...
What are you doing with your hands?
Photo News Fix. This fix is brought to you by Squarespace. As you know, I've been using Squarespace for JaredPolin.com for 15 years now. 15! The reason I've been using Squarespace for my own portfolio for that long is it's just so damn simple to use. Plus, I'm in control of my own site and don't have to worry about Facebook, Instagram, or some other social media place where I'm storing my images going down. It's simply drag, drop, and go, no coding needed. In fact, I recently added my Safari photos to my Squarespace site, and it took me no time at all to do, because remember, there's no coding needed. I know you can have your very own photo website up in a matter of minutes. For real, give it a try. To get your 14-day free trial, head on over to squarespace.com/FroKnowsPhoto, and if you decide that it's for you, use the code FroKnowsPhoto at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Hey, look at me, I got my voice back. I can yell again.
It's so exciting.
First up, could this be a global shutter sensor that will end up in the Canon R1? No. Canon has released a full-frame 19 megapixel global shutter sensor, which looks to be primarily for industrial use. Now, the sensor is capable of outputting 5688 by 3340 something pixels of video at 57.99 frames per second. Now, before you get too excited that this might end up in a real camera, a camera that you and I would use, it's not quite there just yet. This is probably just for industrial use only, but I'm sure some of the technology that's in this will come to our cameras one day down the road. One day. But one good thing did come out of this. Canon was nice enough to upload a very informative video that included things like a girl laying on a fluffy covered bed, some amazing badminton playing, and of course, fanning oneself. Now, all jokes aside, examples showing global versus conventional shutters are well thought out and make the point abundantly clear. Now, speaking of clear, it's clear that the future of image capturing is global shutter sensors, but it's still going to take a few more years to see it in more and more affordable cameras.
When will then be now?
And yes, I'm well aware that Sony has an A9 III on the market, but that is still a lot more expensive, and it's not in less expensive cameras. Thoughts? Prayers? Next up, speaking of third-party lenses, up until this point, Sony has limited the amount of frames per second you can get when attaching a third-party lens, like Tamron, Sigma, and Viltrox. Yeah, I'm expanding that third-party now with other China-made lenses. For example, if your Sony camera can shoot 20, 30, or 120 frames per second, and you have had a third-party lens on it, you'd max out at 15 frames per second when shooting continuous.
15!
But not anymore for these two Sigma lenses that just received a firmware update. The Sigma 150-600 and 60-600 both received firmware updates that now allow them to capture up to 120 frames per second for stills, but with another limitation.
Oh shit, what?
You will only be able to achieve that shooting speed in AFS, DMF, and MF, and not continuous shooting. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose, but nonetheless, it's a step closer to unlocking the system's full potential. On the flip side, as I've said many times before, if you own an A9 III, there's a pretty good chance that you're not grabbing a Sigma lens over some of that G Master glass. Don't cheap out. You got a global shutter sensor, take advantage of the And finally, in the biggest news story of the week, Canon has opened up their RF mount to third-party manufacturers, with a slight caveat.
What else?
The first batch of RF lenses from Sigma and Tamron will only be for Canon APS-C cameras, not full frame just yet. Now, one can assume that full frame will follow at some point in the future. Phone call, I wonder who that could be. Hello? It's Greta from Nikon/Red PR. Why are you calling me? Oh, you wanted to say what assuming is like? Oh, you just called me an asshole? How dare you? Goodbye. Now, I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to see full frame lenses just yet from Tamron and Sigma, but it is good news for crop sensor camera users who now will have a ton of less expensive quality options to help them get into better glass quicker. Now, Sigma is bringing 6 contemporary lenses. There's the 18 to 50 2.8, which I would have sold a ton of if I was still at a camera store.
Hello?
Because it's better than a kit lens. There's a 10 to 18 2.8, 16 1.4, 23 1.4, 30 1.4, and a 56 1.4. Tamron, for their part, will release, is this correct? Yep. 1 lens. The 11 to 20 2.8. Now, it's disappointing they didn't fully open up the mount to full frame lenses just yet, but it is a start and should shut up all those people who were all complaining, wait a second. No, it won't shut people up because people always love to bitch.
Bitch.
But it is cool to see this happening because that's more options for better low-end cameras, and it helps beginners get better results over crappy kit lenses, even when they don't know why better glass helps them get better results. Now, I suspect we'll see full frame Tamron and Sigma lenses for the RF mount in less than 2 years. Now, the one big question is, will you be able to shoot at more than 15 frames per second in cameras that can do more than 15 frames per second, like the R7? I guess we'll have to wait and see. So what Sigma and Tamron lenses would you like to see come to the RF mount? Let me know down below. There you have it, Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.